What's going on, guys? My name's Logan with West Desert Wheeler. Today we've got our Vanquish Optic out here on the rocks. It's getting close to Thanksgiving and Black Friday deals going on. What's really cool is right now Vanquish actually has the Optic RTRs on sale. So I'm gonna have a link down to those below where you can get a sweet deal on a Vanquish Optic, and it kind of inspired me, you know what? Let's grab mine, let's head out to the rocks, let's have some fun. We're also gonna check out the new 2.2 open country tires from Vanquish. These are the Toyo open countries. These are the RT Pros, which I actually happen to have the RT Pro on my truck. So kind of cool there. We've also got some 2.2 KMC Riot wheels on here from Vanquish as well. And then they're dual stage foams for these tires too. The only thing about these tires, they're labeled as a 525. They are definitely bigger than 525. Just like Vanquish's 475 VXT2 tire, they were like way bigger than a 475. These are like 5.45. They're almost a 5.5 inch tall tire. They're big. So they look a little too big on this car, in my opinion. That's just me. You might like that look. So we're gonna go test them out, see how they do. These are in the red compound, and we're gonna have some fun driving some buggies today. All right, well, I filmed my intro right next to one of the hardest lines out in this particular location. This is not my typical spot to go to film. So I guess we're gonna start things off with a really challenging line. I've never tried to drive this with an Optic, so we'll see how this goes for us. But fortunately, we've got rear steer. The first time I drove this was with my drag axle Capra. However, this line is certainly one where width is very important. So I'm not sure whether having a super wide car is the benefit or a narrower car is the benefit. I think you just kind of have to have the right width that the vehicle needs to want to drive through here. Now, having some big tires is going to help us clear some big ledges pretty easily, and I think our width is going to work out to our advantage here. We've also got the Proline shocks on here. These are the Pro Scale shocks, I believe is what they're called. So there's no springs on the outside, they do have springs on the inside of them. And I don't remember, I think I did a mixture of mediums and soft springs, some on top, some on bottom. I don't remember the exact combo I did. It's just something that you kind of got to build and see what your particular liking of the shock to feel like. I don't think I have any secret formula for you guys to share, really. So I'm going to try and get the sidewall to stay down against this rock. Our reef servo's working really hard to try and fight through this bind. Come on, Optic, that's it. That looked really, really good. We're just about to the top with the rears. As long as we don't mess it up from here, I think we got it. Heck yeah, that was nice. This is a very difficult line. This truck got through it pretty quick. These tires are brand new, so they're very sticky out of the packaging, which means all the sand is gonna stick to these tires. Now, it's also been raining for about 4 or 5 days straight a week ago, but it takes a long time to dry out here when the temps aren't, you know, the normal 110 degrees. So still gonna see some moisture in the sand, and overall just lower traction than normal, especially with new tires that like to have sand stick to them. But the Optic coming out swinging, looking really good in those new gray panels as well. I bought those gray panels from their website. If you get one of their kits, you get random panels. And if you don't like the random colors you get, you can also pick up whatever color you're interested in directly from the Vanquish website. And they're pretty reasonable. So as mentioned, these tires are the red compound, which is currently the only aftermarket compound available from Vanquish. Although if you watch their live streams, which they do a live stream every Tuesday, and it's 4 p.m. California time, maybe 3 p.m. California time. Be sure to check out Vanquish Products YouTube channel. Brandon mentioned this, that's the only reason I'm going to mention it, is he had sent me another compound variant of this tire to try out. And it's the same compound that they put on their Phoenix RTR tires, which is their white compound, which I was a fan of. I think it's a little bit better suited to my terrain. It's a little firmer than the red. And so I'm curious to see how that compares. I've got these tires in the white compound, but I have yet to do my comparison. So I'm gonna mess with that off camera most likely. Send some feedback, see how things go. But overall, another compound option is always good for different terrains. So hopefully we see that from Vanquish as an option in the future. But obviously it's gonna depend on testing and results and see if there's enough of a difference to make it matter. There's a little bit of a hook here. I wonder if I kind of just drive straight up in here. A little too steep. not quite gonna work out. Now, I don't have the Vanquish brass knuckles on the front of this. I've got the, are these Trio or Muse? I think they're Trio, but they are a black coated brass knuckle. And then I've also got the Reefs 777 brass servo direct power in here as well. We're gonna find something else to play on. All right, now I have not had good luck on this obstacle in the past. I've actually been out here with a few friends out night crawling, and they've been able to kind of work their way into this one, whereas I really struggle getting the transfer. So I've been doing it with portal cars, and this truck does not have portals, but that does not mean it's not a good truck. So we're gonna see if we can get this thing to drive in here, get settled in, and make a cool climb. So far, I'm pretty happy with where it's going. We got to get this rear end worked way over here. And then it's going to make it super steep, so I don't know how things are going to go here. The rear end has so much control over the vehicle when it's in this position. Get that rear tire to float up in the air. Yeah, we're gonna lose this line. Do some buggy things. Look at that rear axle just get wadded up. Unfortunately, it's not really gonna work out. Yeah, I think I'm getting denied on this one again. We're trying. We're getting pretty nasty with it, but unfortunately just not going to work out to our favor on this line yet again. Let's try the one right next door though. This one can work if I'm not an idiot and know how to drive. Okay, so this is a cool entrance into this obstacle. I like it. It's really narrow and the buggy cage is just barely squeezed through. Well, let's see. Yeah, is this one going to squeeze through? My Capra squeezed through. Get into the roof panel here. The Optic's a little bit bigger than a Capra. Now let's talk about some differences between this guy and a Capra, since people may or may not be shopping for RCs. The Capra, obviously a more dated design. It was Axial's first portal optioned rig, which is pretty cool. The cage on the Capra is much smaller, but the biggest difference between those trucks is to make them perform really good, the Capra requires a lot more, and you're gonna have to buy a lot more parts compared to the Optic. The Optic is pretty well set out of the box, and really, like, you just put good electronics in the Optic and put brass knuckles on it, and this thing's ready to rip. The Capra, depending on which one you get, they used to have poor gearing in the transmission. That's cool, we just barely got a roof through there. And then the latest four-wheel steer Capra has improved gearing in the transmission, so you don't have to replace it, but it's still a fairly bulky transmission. The Optic, like I say, just brass knuckles, ready to rock. Gonna have some fun on the trails. And this one's also a little bit better suited for being a little more of a trail rig compared to just a straight rock crawler. I think the Capra is definitely more of a rock crawler than trail rig. So we're gonna turn that rear steer over to the driver's side, and we're gonna try and get this thing to float its tire up and across this gap. And just little movements of the rear steer are gonna force this thing to float across this gap. How cool is that? And I'm gonna turn the rear steer back passenger and try and get that front tire to settle down, get planted, and allow the front end to climb up this wall. It's looking pretty good. It's also hard because I'm blind to that rear steer and exactly what it's doing on both tires, but I'm liking the progress I'm seeing. That was so cool. That worked out super good. Nice. So as far as, you know, like I just mentioned, this car being a good trail rig, you can turn it into a crawler, which is the route I've clearly chosen to go. And one of the things I did to do that was add rear steer to it. So Vanquish is awesome. I love the fact that they do this with their vehicles. They always make their axles available in part form or a kit form. So you can buy a front axle for an Optic just as a kit separately from the truck. I think they're a little over $100, maybe 120 to 150 range. And you can add rear steer to this thing. And it's super simple. You change the upper links on the rear link setup. You buy another servo, you get a controller that can control rear steer, and you're ready to rip. Oh, I ruined it at the end. Dang it. But overall, that was a really cool line. Oh, okay, we saved it. I didn't even have to touch it. If you're curious what controller I like for rear steer, this is a Flysky GT5. Please come back. This is a Flysky GT5. I control my rear steer with this knob up here because as I turn it and I can let go, it will stay in its position. This is just, it's called a potentiometer, and there's two of them on this truck, or on this controller. I only use one for this truck, and that's pretty much it. It's super simple. You just use that guy, independently control your rear steer if you want. Now, if you're interested in that controller, they are available through Amazon. I will leave a link down below. That will be an Amazon affiliate link, so if you purchase it through there, it will kick a couple bucks my way and help support the channel. I will also have affiliate links for A-Main and Horizon. Both of those are online retailers that are excellent, fast shipping, huge selection of projects. Definitely worth checking out on both of those. I know Vanquish works with A-Main as a distributor as well. So if you're interested in an Optic, there will be a link to them down below. So you guys left a sound off in the comments below. I've been pushing Capras for a long time. So I'm curious how many of you guys have a Capra. And then with the newbie coming out here, I mean, it's not a brand new truck or anything. It's been out for, I'd say a little over a year and a half now. The Optic is an excellent buggy choice as well if you're looking for a buggy. And I've kind of been changing my tune on kind of what I push as far as the people interested in a buggy. I kind of push the Optic a little more these days just because of that ease of build. As far as, you know, you slap some brass knuckles on it, some good electronics, she's done pretty much. I added some shocks just to test them out from Proline. And then of course wheels and tires on any rig, just depending on the style you want. But overall, these Optics are super fun, and I really like them. Definitely one of my favorite spots over here in this patch of rocks. Again, it's a different spot than I typically go for most of my videos. And I really like this crack right here. So again, with rear steer, it's gonna simplify things, but this one, having a wider truck makes it more difficult because you get stood up more vertical as you drive through this spot. So let's see if we're gonna be able to squeeze the front end down below, or if it's gonna have to climb. I think we're gonna be able to squeeze it under. Ooh, maybe not. I've got a Hobbywing Fusion Pro in this truck, which delivers tons of torque, super smooth, consistent power. This would definitely be my #1 recommendation for a Vanquish Optic build. Kind of regardless if you're doing trail truck or rock crawler, that motor is just excellent. They're 150 bucks. Again, available through both Horizon and A-Main. It's one of the most popular RC brushless motor combos out there. Really minimal wiring, which is super convenient. Highly recommended. If you've never driven a truck with a brushless system before, if you buy a Fusion Pro, unfortunately, it's gonna make you wanna buy one for everything you have, because that's what happened to me. I first got a Hobbywing Axe before the Fusion was available. Yeah, I love the way those tires just squeeze under that ledge. Super, super cool. This is very realistic to crawling real buggies out here in Sand Hollow, which I've done. I have some videos on my channel about. But I picked up that Axe before the Fusion Pro existed, and it just converted me. Pretty much from there on, I've been driving brushless systems. The only things that really hold a candle to it are the high-end Holmes brushed motors, but you're gonna pay as much for that brushed motor as you would a brushless system. So you really got to want one. But the Holmes brush stuff, like the Polar 400s, Polar 500s, those are excellent as well, especially when paired with something like a Hobbywing 1080 ESC for a brushed system. And you could take a stock Optic and put a 1080 ESC in it, and it will make it crawl a little bit better. And those are a $45 to $50 option. It's just the speed control for your motor, and it will smooth things out a bit as far as performance. A little rock hopping through here. These tires are doing really good for us today. It is a little bit cooler and a little bit more moist, so maybe the temperature is working to its advantage on this compound. Don't worry guys, we'll pick up that garbage on our way out. And then we're gonna turn up into this one. This truck has a good wheelbase as well as being rear steer, so we may be able to wiggle our way through here. You're gonna want a low L, you're gonna want a center of gravity that's nice and low on this climb. Ooh, I don't know. And it's got to be able to reach up to these upper ledges with the front tires to really just pull the truck. Oh, that was close. I think we got to give that one more shot. Taking a hard slam to the cage. These trucks are very durable. Kind of the failure point I see most often online, like through Facebook groups and stuff, is going to be the axle C tends to break on these, just depending on what you're doing, how much power you're pushing. I have not personally had one break, but it's a common failure point I've seen. So, yep, it just starts to let go right as it needs to hold on the most. So, we gave it a shot. That's a very difficult line. I've only made it with one of my trucks, and it was a Rock Pirates carbon fiber chassis truck. That looks too fun to drive past. Let's get in here. We're gonna get up on this rock and kind of wiggle our way around. There we go. Let's get this rear steer worked around. See if we can use that kind of rocker through here. Very nice, super smooth, very fun. Out here, whenever we get big rainstorms like I mentioned, it changes up the terrain. So these cracks and canyons obviously are low points for the water. So a lot of sand moves through here. It also tears up vegetation, brings sticks down into the bottom of these. So sometimes you got to do a little excavating to find the previous line that was there. And then at the top of this, we've got some weeds and whatnot that have been moved, so we have to fight our way through the dirt at the top most likely. That's all right. We've got some big tires on our side, some forward weight bias, some brushless control, and these reef servos, which I run in all my rigs. Lots of steering power with these. And like, this one's got a brass 777 in it. The 777 servo, I've run probably 8 to 10 of them now. And man, you can beat the crap out of them and they just keep coming back for more. The 777 is just unreal in its durability. I really like them. So we just crawled up this canyon. I got all the way to the exit, made it out the top, and I was like, you know what? It'd be kind of fun to try and crawl down this. So we're gonna try that out as well here. This is just an excellent series of obstacles out here on this patch of rocks. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, let's been there, done that backwards now, so I suppose. We just gotta prove that we can do it backwards. Into the buggy cage. And one really cool thing about those Vanquish live streams I've mentioned with you is that you can actually talk to the guys at Vanquish, some of the designers, like Jim, he's on Instagram as Ripper Machinist, as well as Brandon. And Brandon was, I think, kind of the key main designer behind the Optic. And you get to sit there and, you know, ask them some questions and whatnot. So you get to know the guys behind the brand, which is pretty cool. And it's kind of funny because they've all got their own off-road personalities, as we all do. Some of them are Jeep guys, some of them are Toyota guys. And so they all give each other a hard time. It's fun to watch and listen to those guys. But it's also very cool that you get the opportunity to talk to Brandon, who designed the Optic. You can ask him questions about it, give him ideas and whatnot. It's super rad. One thing that they did that really stood out to me and kind of like says a lot about them as people and a brand. Man, I got nowhere to stand. I couldn't get through that pinch in the overhang. So we're using the cage to keep us stable. This is what buggies are all about, using the roof for traction. But one thing that stands out to me is, like, at one point they had talked about doing a dual dig for the VFD twin. And Cody with Colorado Adventure Club designed a dual dig for that. And this is, I think the timeline was after Vanquish had mentioned this. And Vanquish mentioned on a live stream that because Cody was doing it and kind of keeping up with demand, that they weren't gonna take that away from a small business. So that says a ton about who they are. And like, as a small business that makes little bits and bobs for certain trucks, it means a lot. I think it's super cool. So like myself, some products I make for Vanquish trucks is I have VFD flat skid adapters. So that's their main transmission that they stuff in all their trucks. And it's a little cradle because the skid plates from Vanquish are designed to hold the transmission from the top side, whereas most transmissions are mounted from the bottom side. And so I have a part that adapts the VFD to sit on any flat surface for custom builds. And so, you know, having small parts like that I really don't have to be worried about Vanquish reproducing my part or somebody else's, says a lot. And I think that's super cool. Yeah, that line was awesome. Worked out nice and smooth. Getting vertical on the exit, that was sick. Having a lot of fun out here at this thing. So is my dog Sydney, who loves to run in front of the camera. And these tires are doing great for us out here. They've probably the best red compound experience I've had yet. So guys, that's gonna wrap it up for us here out in Sand Hollow. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're shopping online, I do have affiliate links listed down below to different products. Be sure to check those out. Be sure to check out the descriptions of all my videos. You might find a link to something that you've never heard of. So be sure to check those out. I would appreciate it. And then of course, if you wanna go to westdesertwheeler.com, pick up one of those VFD flat skids I was talking about, a dig unit for a Red Cat Vert X6, some Capra pieces as well, maybe some cut and shuts if they're in stock. I would greatly appreciate that. I do sell sticker packs too. If you just want some stickers, West Desert Wheeler, that are RC sized as well as a larger one too. I ship all my sticker packs with a big one, so be sure to check those out. Thank you once again for watching. We will catch you guys in the next one. Keep the rubber side down.